Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick calls Jeffrey Epstein the greatest blackmailer ever.
Across from it is double doors. I assume it's the dining room. Yeah. And he opens the door, and there's a massage table in the middle of the room. And candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me. And he says, and the right kind of massage. That's what his MO was, get a massage, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money.
Now, this is based upon an article with Time. The journalist was Chantel Lee. She said, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick accused convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein of being the greatest blackmailer ever. In a new interview diverging from the Trump administration's efforts to downplay. Now, to downplay what? To downplay the concerns over the Epstein case. Yeah, that's right. Even Charlie Kirk had mentioned Epstein, that situation. So, speaking with the New York Times, or the New York Post rather, Miranda Devine, for a podcast episode, the Commerce Secretary alleged that Epstein could have given federal authorities video footage of his associates and of these associates receiving massages from young women in return for a controversial 2008 plea deal. Now, these would be underage women. Now, this is although now Lutnick did admit that he had no knowledge of the situation and he didn't provide any evidence to back up his claim. But now realize he was a neighbor of Jeffrey Epstein. So Lutnick, who lived next door to Epstein on Manhattan's Upper East Side in 2005, he said that Epstein once showed him and his wife a massage room. This was in Epstein's townhouse, and Epstein made a suggestive comment to them. The Commerce Secretary, serving under Donald Trump right now, said that he and his wife decided that he would never be in a room with that disgusting person ever again, talking about Jeffrey Epstein. He also said what happened in that massage room, I assume, was on video. This guy, Epstein, was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money. So he went on to say, I assume way back when they traded those videos in exchange for Epstein getting that 18-month sentence. And he said that he is a serial sex offender. How could Epstein, how could he get 18 months and be able to go to his office during the day and have visitors and stuff? There must have been a trade. So Lutnick goes on to say, so his assumption is, I have no knowledge, but my assumption is there was a trade for the videos because there were people on those videos. Was it Trump? Democrats? Republicans? Members of Congress? Blackmail? Working for the Mossad? Jeffrey Epstein? Now, so amid these accusations that he sexually abused young girls, Epstein in 2008 struck a plea deal with the then U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, Alex Acosta, that enabled Epstein to avoid federal prosecution. The lenient deal has since been subject of widespread scrutiny, which it should have been, and conspiracy theories, along with many other aspects of Jeffrey Epstein's life and this case. So Acosta, he went on to serve as labor secretary in Donald Trump's first administration. But then in 2019, he resigned because of the mounting questions over this plea deal that he struck with Jeffrey Epstein. He had previously defended how he handled Epstein's case. The U.S. Attorney's Office for this Southern District of Florida had nothing to say about this. Nothing. They did not respond with regards to any of this. Yeah. So, the Epstein case, we all know it has generated interest. Recently, especially after the U.S. Justice Department and the FBI released a memo this summer which concluded that Epstein did not have a client list of co-conspirators and that his 2019 death in jail was a suicide, contradicting conspiracy theories which surrounds the disgraced Jeffrey Epstein. Was he killed in prison? Probably was, to shut him up. Was he blackmailing members of Congress? Most likely was. So the Trump administration has grappled with this public outrage over the handling of this Epstein case. Now, even with many of his Make America Great Again followers, his base, including Charlie Kirk, the deceased Charlie Kirk. So Trump is facing scrutiny because he had many years of friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, we see pictures. So this whole thing, Trump says it's bawdy, this letter that came out recently. Okay, Trump has denied writing the letter. And he's also filed a lawsuit against certain people and entities who were connected to the release of this purported letter that Trump had supposedly written. So you've had members in the Trump administration, including the FBI director and the attorney general, who previously believed that information was being withheld about Epstein. But when they came into power, they said, nah, that's not happening. That's not happening. So these top officials, they have tried to dismiss these concerns. Officials in the Trump administration, both Democrat and Republican lawmakers, have called for transparency, urging the administration to release the files for the Epstein case. Now, most members of Congress, they're not clamoring for that because it's in all likelihood Epstein had blackmail information on many of them, if not most of them. That's the conclusion of many, many people. And this goes beyond Republican and Democrats. We're talking about both parties. So Lutnick, they want him to testify before this congressional panel. They want him to speak. And right now, people are feeling and believing that Lutnick's claims are very, very explosive. Yeah, very explosive. So CNN Representative Robert Garcia of California says we need to speak to him, talking about Lutnick. The entire oversight committee, we're very interested in understanding what exactly he knows. Theories come from, where those theories are coming from. Anyone, particularly if you're in the Trump administration and you are saying those comments so freely as Lutnick is, you have to have some additional information. So he says you can believe that we're going to follow up. Yeah. So, as I said, Charlie Kirk was also talking about Epstein and cover up by the Trump administration. That's right. And Epstein was tied into Israel. Epstein was tied into the Mossad. Period. This is T. West with Afro Synergy News.